The future of dentistry belongs to the innovators. Welcome to Innovation in Dentistry. I'm your host, Shawn Zajas, and I believe that the future of dentistry is going to be unbelievably great over the next decade and 2 decades. But the question isn't that. The question is, are you going to be part of what makes dentistry great? My name is Shawn Zajas. I got back into dentistry, over 20 years ago now, because my dad started a dental supply company. And I wanted to work with him. I wanted to honor my dad. I wanted to be part of what he was doing. But believe it or not, selling manual toothbrushes didn't really make me come alive. So really, I stumbled into the whole, just seeing the world from a lens of innovation simply because I was trying to create value. My dad had this dental supply company, and I had access to these toothbrushes, but I didn't want them to be simply brushes. It's like you're given lemons. You can do a lot with lemons, I guess, in the culinary world, but it's not always obvious that you're going to make lemonade out of lemons, right? Something different, something refreshing, something sweet, something really enjoyable, especially on a hot day. So here I was given products. And if you want to find out about how I took a brush and thought about how it could be more than a brush, not just any brush, but an electric toothbrush, not just any electric toothbrush, but a premium electric toothbrush, that's what I'm doing right now with Zana. But that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about you and the ways in which you can start seeing dentistry differently so you can be part of that change. Now, my fundamental belief is that belief is so important, right? If we don't believe, if we don't have that confidence, if we don't have that assurance of what is not ahead of time, then we can never start bringing that future into the now. However, it doesn't start with belief. It actually starts with conceiving. And you must conceive before you can believe. Now, this might sound basic, but what I'm saying here is that in this podcast, what I want to do is I want to paint a picture and illustrate concepts, different realities out there in the world of business that you as a dentist may not be familiar with or you may not be aware of. And why is that? Because I want to challenge the current concept of what you believe is possible, right? Like you have no chance to believe in something that you cannot first conceive of. Maybe you didn't know, like most of us, that consumers were willing to take their own vehicles, which come on, as Americans, we're pretty crazy about our vehicles, and pretty much become like glorified taxi drivers and let strangers into our vehicles to make money. You might have thought, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's beneath people. They would never do that. Well, Uber proved that differently, right? So many of the innovations that come are because people dare to see something and think differently. I believe at the heart, innovation is all about creating remarkable. And I'm not going to finish that sentence. It's not about creating remarkable products. It's not about creating remarkable experiences. It's not about creating remarkable services or technologies. It is simply something that is remarkable. It's out of the box. It's different. So I want to, first of all, give you permission to pioneer. I want to give you permission to pioneer positive disruption. I want to be part of inspiring positive change. I want to teach you and show you how you can continue to differentiate, to think differently, and how doing that isn't just going to help your practice, but it's going to help you, if this is what you're interested in, actually achieve true wealth. Now, I say that, and again, I don't mean to offend any dentist here, but there's a big difference between having lots of money and being rich versus being wealthy. And I don't believe, it is my complete conviction, that a dentist doing normal dentistry even phenomenally, exceptionally well. I don't believe a dentist doing that can create true wealth. Well, why is that, you say? Because dentistry at the core is tied to time. It's tied to a skill set that's tied to an individual or a few individuals. Maybe you have a specialist in your office. Maybe you have a few other dentists that also perform great dentistry. Maybe you have 10 ops and you're bringing in, your 2 million a year. That is still not going to create wealth. Riches, maybe, but I believe that the income you make from dentistry can then lead you to make strategic investments, strategic moves, innovative moves, one might say, that allow you then to go into the realm of the wealthy. Because true wealth is generated when you're sleeping. True wealth involves scale, and scale is really only possible through leverage. And right now in dentistry, unfortunately, the only leverage that you really can employ is labor and capital to some extent. So labor is obviously you're hiring other people to do jobs that you don't have to do. You don't have to answer phones. You don't have to greet patients. You don't have to perform, the clinical responsibilities that a hygienist would do. You have your area of expertise, and you get to employ the leverage of labor to handle everything else. And then, of course, you can leverage capital in order to reproduce what you've successfully built in one area, right? You can buy another practice, You can start your own small DSO. You can go in with a few other dental friends, and that's great. That's starting to be able to build wealth because you don't have to be at those other practices and they can keep making money. But the two last forms of leverage are media and code. Now, the reason why these are so special is because they don't have any marginal cost to replicate. So if I'm a product company, yeah, I can take advantage of economies of scale. That's awesome. That's wonderful. It means, economies of scale, for those that don't understand, it just means I'm allowed to get a much cheaper per unit cost because of the insane volumes that I'm reaching. I'm no longer trying to produce 500 of these items at a time or these widgets. Now, because I have a partnership with Costco, they need to know that I can produce 2 million. So now my cost per unit is going to go down significantly because of economies of scale. Everything you can buy in bulk, you can bulk produce them, you can save a lot of money. But media and code, so really quickly, media simply means you create some form of media. Could be a picture, could be a video, could be a course online, could be a book. I guess an ebook would be a better example. And it doesn't really cost anything to reproduce that. So for example, influencers today that post and have media out there, that media, beyond the moment it was created, can continue to get consumed at zero cost. One image can spread worldwide and lead to that fame of that individual, and yet it didn't cost any money for that individual, for that image to spread. In code, it's obvious, right? Software. You create some line of software, you create something useful, and people buy it and use it, and you continue to make money from it, even when you're not continuing to create it. And then, of course, there's servers and there's maintenance. But by and large, it's practically infinitely scalable. Now, what is not infinitely scalable, it's obvious again here, is human capital. It is the skills and abilities that you have as a clinician. And that's why you can do a great job. You can produce million, million and a half, 2 million more. And that's going to lead to you having money that you can invest. It's going to lead to what the world would probably look at as, wow, you're pretty rich, but you're not truly wealthy. The Waltons from Walmart, when they have, 1,200 stores, actually, I don't even know. I have to look into that. And every single store is just producing every single day and just cranking out. Like, that is wealth in the billions. That's wealth. So if you want to think about how you can create more wealth, again, that is what this podcast is about. How do you think differently? How do you see the world differently? How do you learn to pioneer so you can create that positive disruption? And so much of it's a mindset. It's about how do you fail fast so you can fail forward, so you can actually understand what it is that the market wants. True success is learning how to align your actions and behaviors with the marketplace. You have to be thinking about market-driven realities. This isn't about theory anymore. It's not about, oh, well, this could work. It's about what does the market say yes to and what does the market reject? And the more you let the market give you feedback, the quicker you're going to dial in something that's going to work. Again, permission to pioneer, to be original. I believe being original is the only true strategy for lasting success for you in dentistry. More mindset is if you don't risk anything, there's not going to be a reward. If that sounds scary, again, I still challenge you to stay along for the ride. Join me. It's not all about facing your fears all at once. It's not about that voice that tells you that everyone else is just different. Those people that start really crazy companies or really crazy partnerships, they're different. I don't believe that. I believe if you're a dentist, you are incredibly qualified. You are incredibly intelligent. You are incredibly resilient. And if COVID-19 showed us anything, it's that dentistry is massively resilient. That's you. Own that. You are resilient. But you're probably also calculated, right? Which just means you don't want to jump off a bridge unless you know you're going to be able to survive and there's a reason for it. There's rocks underneath the water, you're not jumping. That's prudent, that's wise. But I want to challenge you to get more comfortable with risk, more comfortable with the realm of what's uncertain. I think you can be a visionary entrepreneur if you want to. I don't know if you read the book, I think it's called Blue Ocean Strategy. And the whole concept was about the red oceans. That's where everyone hangs out. That's where the marketplace continues to have competition. The sharks are eating there and there's lots of blood in the water. It's pretty busy. So there's no innovation there. That's established. It's almost like dentistry as it is today. But the blue ocean over there, that is where innovation is taking place. Now, that blue ocean to the left, maybe it doesn't have any fish. Maybe there's not going to be success there. So then you change your bearing a little bit. Head, 20 degrees in this direction, northwest. Maybe that blue ocean is where there's going to be prosperity, success, innovation. So is there certainty that you're going to find it? No, of course not. But if there was certainty, I don't know if it would be worth it. Like, I think everyone else would have already gone there. So there's a few myths that I want to completely bust that like playing it safe really is safe. It's not. There's nothing safe about that. It is an illusion. Safety is completely an illusion. If I stay where I'm at, if I set up camp, if I create that protective wall and I hold on to my patients and I just keep doing what I've been doing that works right now, I can sleep well at night because there's safety. It's best practices. It's wisdom. It's the... Unfortunately, your own experience has told you that's not true. The market changes. People change. And it's those that are willing to step up, to lead in the face of uncertainty. They're the ones that get the spoils. And I believe that can be you. Even if you like safety, even if you are risk averse today, that's okay. We're going to go on this journey. Little by little, seed by seed. And again, my challenge to you is just to say yes in the areas where it's coming up for you. I might say this one thing. I might tell this one story. I might give an illustration or an example about some concept, some mindset, some reality. But in your mind where it is, like what you're hearing, where there's conviction, where there's some insecurity, where there's some fear. And when that's rising up, lean into it. Shine the light on that conversation in your head, that conversation where there's doubt. And again, you don't have to do it all at once. I want to bring passion, zeal, and fire into dentistry to help dentists like you step out, step up, to be able to believe and then leap, or as I like to call it, leap and then learn. I know that sounds crazy. There's some learning you do ahead of time, but the true learning is actually once you've leapt. You want to start a podcast? Start a podcast. I've been podcasting with one of my inspirations in dentistry, Dr. Allison House of House Dental in Scottsdale. And we've been podcasting for 3 years now. It's called The Authentic Dentist. And we just decided we are going to do this. More than ever now, you can decide what you want to do, how you want to show up, how you want to lead. You want to start a YouTube channel? You want to start a podcast? You think that maybe you're cut out to be an influencer? Or maybe not. Maybe you're more behind the scenes. I don't know, someone that's coming up with partnerships. Maybe you're really connected already. And there's a lot of friends, vendors that already trust you. And maybe you don't know it, but they would follow you if you got up and started to lead. That completely reminds me of the movie Braveheart. It was my favorite movie growing up. Anyone that's seen it remembers the scene between William Wallace and Robert the Bruce. And Robert the Bruce, you know it's a sad story. It was inherited wealth, right? From his dad. He was one of the lords in Scotland. He was given position. He was given titles. And William Wallace wasn't. He rose up and started this whole movement toward freedom because he lost, the woman that he loved. Anyway, so the point of this analogy is that there's this moment between William and Robert the Bruce. And Robert the Bruce is a coward. You can tell he wants to be strong. He sees things in William that he wishes he had. And William looks at him and just calls out strength and says, if you stepped up and lead, I would even follow you. Now, clearly that's not the exact phrase, but something to that effect. And then he left. And you could tell Robert the Bruce was haunted by that because he realized it's crazy. Through so much of my life, I've seen myself as Robert the Bruce. I've dreamt about being William Wallace, right? I've dreamt about having the courage, being fearless. But the reality is nobody's fearless. Everyone has to dance with the tension of, will I look like a fool? Will I look like an idiot? Am I going to be embarrassed? Is this going to completely bomb and humiliate me? And what I've come to understand, and I hope this really can be a gift to you, and I'm going to end on this, is that I believe the greatest pain is the pain of regret over what we don't do in life. I know that's true for me. When I look back and I'm like, I could have stepped up earlier. I could have stepped out earlier. I could have tried earlier. What have I been waiting for? So that's my question to you. What are you waiting for? Is 2023 going to be the year that you've imagined? Or are you going to live the same experience of life that you did last year, this year? So if you want to change, if you want to contribute to dentistry in a more intentional way, then join me on this podcast as I go into the ways to think like an innovator, but also highlight the individuals and the companies that are truly innovating in dentistry today. Thanks for listening, and be sure to follow so you never miss an episode. To learn more about what's going on in dentistry, check out innovationindentistry.com.